What's up? I don't know what day it is. I think it's Tuesday or Wednesday. What do we got to talk about today? A lot on my mind. For so many reasons. Yeah. The US. Yeah. Yeah. Definitely hard, but just existing every day. But I will say, I'm so glad I left my job, because being able to have the time to process and plan and imagine and work on projects that I know is for the community, and not be in useless meetings. No offense to my past job, but not being in useless meetings, not being inundated with random politics of company, all these things, and having to check my phone every now and then and see the latest update. Like, I'm so glad I don't have to deal with that dissonance anymore. So grateful. In a way, I found more peace and like stability, because I no longer have to reconcile those differences. No longer have to be like, oh yeah, they murdered somebody else. Oh, okay, I have a 2 o'clock talk about this thing that doesn't really matter. You know? So for that, I'm grateful. I'm very grateful that I do not have to be in the corporate space right now. That I don't have to think about what I'm posting, because someone from work may see. That I'm so grateful for. Yeah. I think we'll leave it at that. What more can you say, huh? But, yeah, we're gonna leave it at that for tonight. We'll check in tomorrow. Today was an amazing day of having an intention and carrying it out to the fullest, all right? Today I woke up, I said, okay, we need to get these grants, as many in as possible, right? I applied to about, 5 to 7 opportunities / grants, the quick ones, the short ones, the ones that were pretty easy to knock out. There's still 4 more that I want to do, probably tomorrow and Friday, that I need to finish before I leave out of town. But I wanted to just knock out the easy ones, the ones that, take me an hour, 2 hours max. So one of them included a open call for artists for Black History Month gallery. I sent it off. Like, you just email your portfolio and like what you wanted to show. And within maybe like a few hours, I got a response being like, you're in. I said, oh, that's amazing. That's incredible. So that was a huge win. I mean, it was already a huge win to like knock off, like, I have a little checklist of different opportunities and the deadlines and the links and the descriptions and stuff. And so it was already nice to be like, check, check, check. And I finished painting all the frames. That's ready. Scheduled my print pickup for tomorrow. And got to see a friend's screening and connect with some people. Shot my shot there as well for an opportunity. Like, just a bunch of different things came together today, and I was really proud of myself. I did want to go on a run, but it was just so cold, and I just can't go the rest of this week. It's single-digit weather. But I do have a potential lead for a barter with the gym that a friend manages. So if that all works out and they accept his pitch, in exchange for taking photos for them, I will get free membership for a couple months. And that is what I really want to lean more into. And there's just the power of like this is my year of Audacity. And just like, I'm trying to get to 1,000. I think I've reached like 13. I did the math. I would take 83, on average, 83 audacious attempts a month to reach 1,000. So maybe, but I'm counting like anything really as like audacious. Like even posting on a story asking for help. That's Audacity, right? And just in the few 2-3 weeks of embracing that and just being open and sharing my journey, like, so many opportunities and resources and connections have come through, and it's really awesome. I got a DM today from someone who said that they were inspired by my What Happens If You Actually Tried, which was my motto 2 years ago and last year. And they're like, in less than a month, they were able to get an internship or a job somewhere at a radio station. And I was like, oh my gosh, that made me so happy. Because yes, like, genuinely, what happens if you tried, right? Like, I almost wrote off, you know, the gallery, all of the stuff that the easy things I almost wrote off. And I was like, whatever, small. And I already got one. Within less than 6 hours, I got it. Like, just like, yeah, just go for it. Why not? And why not you? So that's been awesome to kind of tap into, lean into. So tomorrow I'm going to focus on applying to at least 2 of the residencies. There's one of them, it's a fellowship. It would be the most audacious thing, honestly, because it's like, I don't think I qualify for it, but we all move as if we qualify for it, right? So I'll do it if I've had the time to, because it is a rigorous application, but I think that's fine. I kind of have everything that I need, because thanks to that one initial grant from a couple weeks ago, beginning of this year. So, and that has helped me so much. Oh my gosh, having my CV and my artist statement figured out because of that grant from the beginning of this year, like, has made my life so... Pause. New York City, am I right? Having had done all that stuff because of that grant, like, has saved me so much time. I think that's why I never applied to a lot of things, because they'd be like, oh, you need a CV. I'm like, oh, so much work. But I had that all done. I have my artist statement. I have it all done. So it's just been so easy to plug and put in things. And it's really nice too to like look at different prompts for like photo competitions and gallery exhibition open calls, because I don't think that I have series of images like that could work in a series, but because of these different opportunities, they've been forcing me to like look at some of the photos that I've taken differently, and I'm like, oh wait, I can build a series out of these film photos that I took of New York City, or I can build a series of this. So I'm saying it verbally, but I do intend, like, in a slow period, to go through and kind of put different series together off of my existing photos, because I have thousands of photos. I have so many photos, and a lot of them can work together as one thing, even if they didn't like manifest or intend to be a photo series or a photo essay. I do have some opportunity with some of these things. So all in all, these applications have been such a great reminder of like, audacity is a muscle. Move as if you have it. Why not you? And they're just great opportunities to really flesh out your thoughts, think through things, having different questions, like really like I'm learning to stand my ground, and what is that ground? Like, what are my ethics? What are, you know, my artistic practices? What do I want to work on? What do I want to think on, right? Like, if I go to a residency, what would I be thinking about and spending my time on? Like, just like all these things that have just been so great to delve into and to dive into. And I really am excited to just tap into a bunch of different things coming back. Right now, it's just like the show coming up. February is kind of really filling up really quickly with just different opportunities. A friend reached out, and hopefully they get approved with this production, and kind of hire me on, because that would make rent. And that's the goal at the end of the day, is to just make rent each month. I did not reach that goal in January. I think I made nothing in January. I did a gig, but I haven't gotten paid for it yet. But it doesn't even come close. We did have to dip into the savings this month, and especially with this trip upcoming. I'm gonna be in the hole, but February we'll do pretty well. There is still the print, the show that we rescheduled. I'm going to be selling prints. So, you know, I'm going to technically make money, but I'm not counting it as make money until I like break even at least on how much I spent on all the prints, which is almost $1,000. So I'm going to keep track of like, at what point do I make that money back? Specifically with the prints and the print sales. I want to see what that will look like, but anyway, yeah, so all in all, very good day, very productive day, very structured day. Got a lot of the things that I wanted to get done. Tomorrow, we're going to focus on 2 of the residency applications, at least get one of them in, and then I need to finalize all my photo show assets. I like to just have all that done by Friday. I just need to finish a playlist. I'll pick up the prints, so I'll probably put the prints together tomorrow. There was a movie, like an African film I wanted to go watch. We'll see how we're feeling. If I could just wake up early, bro. Like, it's already past midnight. Technically, it's the next day already. It's almost 1. That's the thing. If I could just wake up at 5, I'd get so much done. And then we've been having issues with the radiator. So, like, I just want to continue working some days, but it gets so cold in the apartment I can't work. So I may, honestly, if that keeps happening, I may just go to the library or go somewhere else, because it's getting to the point where, like, 2 days in a row now, it works and then it stops for like half of the day, or it stops after 5. It's like clocks in for 8 hours and it's done. And then I can't, I'm shivering. I just had to literally, every day I've had to go in the shower, just not the shower, because I already showered, but like to get warm. And I'm going to sleep in long sleeves and sweatpants. I never do that. With socks on, I never do. That's how cold it is. Grateful. I have a home, I have a bed, you know, I have methods to be able to get warm. I could layer. Not everyone has that, but dang, that sucks. It's like, oh, I don't have an office that I can go into, you know? And it's just gonna be the other way around in the summertime. It's gonna be so hot. You're like, dang, I wish I had air conditioning. Anyway, yeah. So all in all, I'm very proud of today. Feel like, yeah. So, anyway, first world problems. Don't even get me started about the problems here. Really trying to find my role as well, as in the current state of the U.S. Trying to find where I fit in it. Been a lot of social postings, been getting a lot of DMs from people saying, you know, this information helps, yada yada. And I know the projects that I'm working on. I keep hinting at the projects that I'm working on. I'm not describing them, but the stuff that I am working on is like long-term help. And just trying to find different ways to get into different stuff, and volunteer my time and use my skill set to help out in the revolution, in the movement. But yeah, right now I'm just locking in on the things that I need to do this week, and gonna take next week vacation. I cannot wait for warmth and just like time away. I'm not taking my laptop. I think it'll be the first time I'm traveling without my laptop. I cannot wait. In years. I don't think I haven't traveled without my laptop in years. Actually, I guess I think when I went to Iceland I didn't bring my laptop, but that may have been the only time. So all that to say, and then come back and then like really like lock in. I've got a lot of gigs in February. There's some different like I want to tap back into my routine, like really solidifying like a routine, and then I want to start integrating regular volunteering, more movement work, more community work, like that's not long term. Like the stuff I'm working on now is more long term. Like I'm not going to see the products of it probably till the end of the year, but I want to do more consistent like short term stuff. So there's some ideas that I have that I'm really excited to implement. I just didn't want to, I'm trying to use Q1 to like establish baseline routine, get baseline business stuff like done, settled, handled, right? Like know what my rates are, all these things. Then go into it at Q2. Because I'm someone who, like, when I have an idea, I tend to just jump into it and go into it, and I end up biting off more than I can chew, and I burn out. And especially now that I have all this time, I'm like, oh my god, I have time that I can say yes to everything. But it's like, no, we got to be a little careful and intentional. So there are a bunch of different ideas that I've had that I'm so excited to work out, like in the spirit of mutual aid and barter and community and volunteering and service work and activism. But I need to pace myself, because burnout won't make me effective to anybody and won't make me helpful to anybody. To my family, my friends, my community, the larger world, and myself. So that's why I'm like easing myself into things slowly. We're like, okay, like let's introduce one new thing, and then like let's build it in, let's like integrate it fully until we feel good, settled, and then we'll bring in the next thing and the next thing and the next thing. And I have my plan. I have my Q2, Q3, Q4 plan. I have my quarter breakdowns and when to introduce different stuff and when to work on different stuff. So there is intention, there is planning, but sometimes you get on your phone and it's like the urgency of it all is just like, you know, what good is a plan if there's not going to be a tomorrow? That's how urgent the situation is right now, and has been. Anyway, I can continue to muse on, but I am robbing myself of being able to wake up early and get on it, so we'll see how tomorrow goes, how far I get in this lock-in week. And I'm really proud of you, Hannah. Things are coming together really well, and I think as they should. And not doing a video at midnight. It's like 6 p.m. Ignore the hissing. The radiator's on, and I also have a space heater on, and I am nice and toasty. It's the only toasty spot in the apartment. I have just had a revelation that I would like to share. Okay, so we're gonna need some quick context here. If you know me, these are threads of stories and like threads in general that have always existed, and you may have heard me talk about in some capacity. But I entered journalism because I saw how the communities I grew up in. I grew up in an immigrant. I grew up in an immigrant community, and I saw the ways that we were being reported on. And I stumbled upon journalism. I tell the story often. I was in high school, and I think it was sophomore year, and I had a hole in my schedule to fill, and it was between sports marketing or journalism. I was like, well, I hate writing, but I hate sports more, so we're going to do journalism. Took the class, and the teacher was the newspaper advisor. He was like, hey, I think you're great. You should apply for a newspaper. So that's how I joined newspaper. That's what I was doing, writing. Became a managing editor, I believe, my senior year, and won a couple of awards, worked on a lot of stories that I'm still proud of this day, since high school. And did a journalism program, summer program with the newspaper group at UNC Chapel Hill, which is where I ended up going to school. And I thought I was going to go in for broadcast journalism. I loved it. I wanted to be the next Christiane Amanpour. And I don't know what she's been up to lately. I don't know if she's problematic at any capacity. So if she is, please don't hold me on to that. I have not been keeping up. But at the time when I was younger, I really loved the work that she did. And I was volunteering I think I was sitting in on the I forget the name of it, Carolina Weekly or something, the broadcast show that the university had, and that shit was toxic, baby. And also had a top administrator, the top best you could go, say to my high school newspaper advisor after that summer that I went with my school, saying that I had an exotic look about me and I would do really, really well because of that. And it was funny because as a child, this is a quick tangent, as a high schooler, for some reason I was like, oh, that's so cool. She remembered who I was, and that's awesome. That's a positive thing, right? But I always felt icky about it. I felt iffy about it, and I didn't have the language for really understanding why I felt icky about that compliment. And then as I kind of progressed further and got older and you learn more, I'm like, oh, that was exotification, fetishization, whatever, right? It was just not a good thing. Anyway, I left broadcasting, thank God I did, and entered my brief stint of I call it my journalistic identity crisis. I did writing, I did podcasting audio class, I did graphic design, video, all these things. One day I took an intro to photojournalism class. Here we go. Okay, that context is just a little necessary. Throughout my time, I've always been someone who cares deeply. Since I was young, elementary school, my mom taught me just always get involved, help people. I grew up just very rooted in that, and I saw service in my mother and the people that I grew around, because it was an immigrant community and everyone took care of each other. It was we didn't have much, but we all took care of each other, and that was really instilled in me. And journalism became really hard for me, especially in college, because in college was when I was dealing with the grappling of what it meant to be Black. Because where I grew up, we were all immigrants. It was never you're Black, you're this or this. It was oh, you're Venezuelan, you are Eritrean, you are Pakistani, you are from Somali, and that was that. There was no, maybe I'm naive in my memory of this, but I don't have a recollection of ever being oh, I'm Black or I look different. I remember vividly the Latino market we would go to, they would talk weird to my family. And that was the only thing that really stuck out to me. But I was very naive in my understanding about race, because I grew up in a predominantly global community. And then the elementary school that I went to, there were barely any white people. If there were, they were Bosnian and Serbian, from my memory. I don't think we had any white Americans there that I could remember. in my classrooms. So it wasn't until middle school, which was my first association / interaction with like white people, and specifically wealthier white people. And that's when I started straightening my hair and frying my hair and shaving, all these things, right? And it, cure in the fact too, I'm also a teenager. So that was 3 years of a brief, like, what am I doing here? Trying to figure out what that all meant. But I still didn't really get it. Damn. And then in high school, I was part of the IB program, the International Baccalaureate program. So still very, like, globally minded people. And, like, race still just wasn't something that I thought about. So all this to say, I go to UNC. It's a predominantly white institution, a PWI. And that was my first thrust into blackness and Africanness and African American and like ethnicity and race and the diaspora. Like that was like my first time. And it was just like confusion and like, you're learning so much in classrooms. I'm learning about all these intersections. I'm volunteering. I'm working on journalistic stories. Like I'm meeting people. I'm in different clubs. I'm in the Black group, like the African group. Like it was just and then I study abroad. And so like, as I'm coming to understanding of all of these concepts and everything, like I go to Rome and I live in Rome working on a story about, or a project about the modern day slave trade happening out of there, right? And that was such a formative 2 months of my life, because that's when I learned about like the blurring of lines between different identities, because I go there and, largely at this point I'm like, I'm Black. Like I've always known, okay, let me clarify. I've never been like, oh, I'm not Black. That's not the conversation here. It's more like I've never had to think about the implications of race, because it wasn't what was more salient in the community I grew up in was where your parents were from, not like what we looked like. It was like, oh, you are Ethiopian, you are this. What was more salient was ethnicity, not race. Race became more salient to me, and I had to like understand what that meant in college. Okay, so I don't want this to be like, oh, you thought you weren't Black. No, that was never the case. So then I go to Rome. I live in Rome, and like I'm working on these stories, and it's about a lot of like West Africans and East Africans who are being sold into this modern day slave trade into Europe through Italy, out of Libya through Italy. And I meet different people, and I get coached by one person, one of my mentors in the program I was with, who said, don't lead with you being American. Lead with you being Ethiopian, because a lot of the reasons that a lot of these people have had to leave was because of some type of interaction with the U.S. involved in their country, destabilization, all these things, right? U.S. does not have a great, even at the time, and I would probably say always, has never had a great perception of other people have not had great perceptions of us. And then it was such an interesting thing of seeing like ethnicity and race blur, because I remember vividly a woman, Italian, drops her keys on the metro, I forget what they're called, in Italy. And I pick it up for her and I give it to her. And she doesn't look up and she just says, oh my God, what's thank you in Italy? Grazie. And I'm like, oh, prego. Oh, no. She says bitte. No, danke, in German. And I took a semester of German. So I remember I was like looking through my head, like, how do I say you're welcome? I think it was bitte. And as I'm about to respond to that, she looks up, she sees me, and she kind of like freaked out. I was so confused. She's like, merci, and then like runs off the train. And I was like so confused for a minute. I was like, why did she just say thank you in French? Like, it didn't make any sense to me. And then I was like, oh, in the context of where I'm at, there's a lot of West Africans. So she assumed that I was West African. And it was very, very interesting seeing like the immediate assumption of just looking at me, because they don't know the difference between it, right? Like, so they'll look at me and then they'll speak French, but then, or some people, especially if they're Italians, would recognize that I'm either Ethiopian or Eritrean, so they would act a certain way, but then I'd open my mouth and I'd speak English, and just like how you would be treated on based on the different levels of what they're looking at. I don't think I'm articulating this really well, but all this to say, it was a very formative time of my life of understanding college and study abroad, semester at sea, like all these experiences, even going to Belize, was a very formative time of understanding and of me coming into my consciousness as it related to race and intersectionality and ethnicity and nationalism, and what does this all mean as it intersects with each other? What does it mean globally? You know, what becomes more salient depending on what room you're in. Like, it was just so fascinating, because then also in Rome, I would then go hang out with Ethiopians and Eritreans, and they'd be like, oh, you're not one of us because you don't speak the language well. So yeah, it was just like such a formative time of my life, right? And so you have that coupled with everything that was going on at UNC between the time span of 2017 and 2021. So yeah, the wildest time to be at that school. And I became pretty like loud about what was happening, and also just like became a trusted member that people felt comfortable DMing things to me or sharing information with. And I kind of became a conduit, or like, you know, the paper that I was working at wasn't that trusted amongst the Black community. But if they saw me there, then it would feel a little good, because they knew my politics and my like how I approached the work that I was doing very intentionally and thoughtfully, in a way that unfortunately has not always been the case with journalistic institutions, organizations, and especially the Daily Tar Heel at that time, and probably still to this day. So all this to say, okay, my point in being, to have a rise in my, and I was still taking journalism classes, I was in journalism, to have my career, I guess, begin, right, in journalism, truly, and like to really be diving into what that means, and to be diving into to all of that, everything that comes with, on top of like parallel rise of me understanding and coming into my identity and understanding all these intersectionalities. You have then the stages of like anger and like beyond that happens with that. And I was angry all the fucking time. And so you have this parallel of being a journalist. What does that mean? Being a journalist with the requirements and rules that are very white-centered, and in the name of objectivity has allowed a lot of things to slide by, or has caused a lot of harm for different communities under the name of objectivity, okay? That's a whole other thing. I've talked about this many times before. To be told, I can't say Black Lives Matter, right? Because it's political. And to see people, this didn't happen to me specifically, what I'm about to say, but there are reports of journalists being told that they couldn't report on Black issues because they were Black. And it was too political. I'm a Black woman in the US. I'm inherently political, okay? You're not hearing and or seeing journalists who are parents being told you can't cover issues about kids or schools because you're biased, because that's political. It is political. Everything is fucking political, first off. Whether you want it to be or not, it is. That rubbed me the wrong way, on top of a bunch of other stuff that, like, and it rubbed a lot of the students of color the wrong way. The people who were having the conversations then were my students of color, like peers of color, and to this day, we still have these conversations. And all this to say, I left the journalism industry. I couldn't do it. Partly, I was both, like, not forced, but, like, circumstantially had to leave it as well. It wasn't just an active choice, because COVID happened in 2020. I graduated 2021. A lot of the job requirements required that you had an internship experience prior. I wasn't able to have that internship experience prior, which usually happened in our junior year, summer, because of COVID. I probably could have still applied to things and, like, maybe explained that situation. I would have gotten newsroom stuff, maybe. Who knows? I don't know. But I took things at face value. I was like, oh, the application says you need internship experience. I don't have that, unfortunately, so I can't apply. So I didn't apply to any newsroom applications or newsroom jobs as a photojournalist, and ended up finding the job at Hearst. And that was my first foray into creative corporate. And then I was at the consulting firm Oliver Wyman, which was corporate creative as well. So essentially left the journalism industry. But I was already feeling some type of way about it. I wasn't comfortable about it. It was already like, I was like, this just doesn't sit right with me. Especially again at that time when I'm so angry and I'm trying to understand who I am and like who the people around me are and how the world really works. And like, I was so naive and like stripping out all these things and ideas and thoughts and like really trying to get to the base root layer of understanding who I am and who I am in the context of everywhere and all these things. I was having a lot of awakenings in college, and I think that's one of the beauties of that time, It was painful and it was depressing. I was depressed as fuck that time period. But I learned a lot. And so, and so I love journalism. But in that time span, right, when all of this is happening between my junior year of high school up to my senior year of college, I met so many incredible people working on different stories. I became so invested. Photo was just such the best medium. Photojournalism was the best medium for me. Out of all the other journalistic mediums I tried, it was the one that really allowed for me to take the time and to live alongside with the people that I met, the story partners that we worked with. And I think there is no other form that works better for me, because every other thing just felt too cold for me. I'm someone who cares deeply, and I want to show that I care by physically being there and spending time. And I remember my editor in high school, she was like, you forced me to be an editor because you write so long. And I always wrote long because I was like, I need to give this justice. Like, I need the space and the time in the word space. To this day, I'm still a loquacious woman who writes a lot. And so photo was just the perfect medium for me, and I love it so much. And I felt so guilty leaving photojournalism. I really did. I was like, the people that I've met and the stories that I can't work on with the level of care and intention and thought and ethics that I carry, that's one less person who thinks this deeply about it being in the field. And I felt so much regret. Not regret, guilt. I felt so much guilty. To this day, until this very moment, before I start hitting record, I was guilty. I was like, wow, I left it, you know? And I've always wanted to go back to it. Even when I was in corporate for the past 4 years, I was like, I need this. I need to be doing this. But it's still, I was like, I can't be objective enough under the... And I'm not knocking objectivity completely in its entirety, because there's a level of rules that journalists have to abide by because of the nature of what they're doing, right? You can't manipulate truth-telling, all these things. I think for me, what I couldn't reconcile with was like the identity stuff. I think since I've left the job and left corporate, I really had time to think and to read and to like figure out who I am without the weight of a corporate industry over my shoulder, like worrying about what I can post and not, and what I can do and how involved I am. And then the journalism, and like, I can't post too much. I can't show that I'm like too political or I have too many thoughts of my own, because then I won't be credible for this specific industry should I ever want to go back into journalism again, right? Like, a lot of editors follow me. I'm in community with a lot of photojournalists. Like, they're going to see, they're going to know. And finally today I was like, maybe journalism is just not for me. And that doesn't mean I'm abandoning the stories and I'm abandoning the people. It just means that there's a better way for me to do what I do and allow for me to still care. Whether that's, and I think broadly right now I just have it defined as like art activism. But when I tell you, and it's such an obvious thing, and it makes so much sense, like the program that I worked on at 16 years old, like I used to work as food waste and school program, and I was advocating a lot, like it makes sense as someone who cares a lot that like activism would be the form, and learning more about what art activism is and the branches under it and what you can do with it and the boundless, limitless things that you can do. Like, it's just like, wow, yeah, I can do that. And maybe that's what's better suited to me. And I'm so glad that I had the journalism education and the connects that I had and the experiences that I had and the path that I took, because it's going to inform the way that I move forward and, you know, how you do journalism. Like, there's a lot of stuff that I admire and I believe in. I want to be able to instill. It's just like, I care, and I want to be able to care. I want to be able to be like, this thing sucks, and this is what we should be doing about it. This is how you can support this person, not just here's the story, you make your opinion on it. I have thoughts, and I think I'm pretty good at mobilizing people, and people listen to what I have to say. So that was a whole 20-minute way of me saying, it's time to let go of, I think, this like guilt and fear that I had of betraying journalism. I haven't called myself a photojournalist in a long time, so I don't have to like be like, I need to stop calling myself that. I stopped a while ago, years ago, but I think I now have found what it is that I do fit under. I just wanted to share that thinking. It feels really good to say that. Yeah, I'm gonna keep giving a think on all that, but I just wanted to share that part, and hopefully maybe it resonates with other people. Hey, we are on the ground today, reporting live. Oop. I've got my little Subway Sammy. The person at the register, what was his name? Well, I'm not gonna say his name. A couple months ago, actually the end of last year, I think we connected. And he told me about how he doesn't like his college major, and I was like, you should change it. And I was gonna send him resources, and I was compiling information from people on my Instagram stories because I asked them. And I've been meaning to email to him, and I just haven't had the time, but I saw him. He was like, I thought you forgot about me. I was like, no, I promise I'm gonna send it. So we caught up, we chatted. He gave me 2 free cookies. The people at that Subway, they always be giving me cookies. I adore them, I appreciate them. But they had the $6.99 deal. So I was like, I'll get a foot long for $6.99. About to go on vacation, so there's really nothing in my fridge. So vacation kind of starts now. I didn't do a video yesterday. My deepest apologies. Whatever. Yesterday was a lot though. I locked in. I edited the last 2 overexposed videos, backlogged, edited those, made the promos and everything ready, got the stories ready, released the one from like 2 weeks ago today. Gonna release the one from last week tomorrow. I'm gonna release this week's on Monday and have it scheduled. So by the time you're seeing this week's entry, I am on a plane. Oh, baby. I cannot wait. And then I worked on the blog for this month. I really wanted to, I guess I still have a couple hours in the day. As y'all, today? Okay, let me finish yesterday. And then it was Good Cousin, my man, produced this comedy show with our run club. So I went to go take photos for them. And so that was like till midnight. And then this morning I spent the time putting together the frames and the prints because my boyfriend was going to take them down for me because he lives next to where the show is going to be. So it was like, he was like, I'll take it for you. I was like, thank God, this is why you got to have a boyfriend, I guess. This is the benefits I'm learning. They help you out. So we spent the earlier part of the day putting that together. Everything was going well until I realized, so when I got the Facebook Marketplace frames, she said 12 by 15. Everything else was right. The 5 by 7 was right. The 8 by 10 was right. Turns out the 12 by 15, she measured the whole frame size, not the internal, what the photo would hold, what the frame could hold. So it was actually 11 by 14. So I got the photos printed out 12 by 15 because I took it face value of what she said. So I had to cut them. Yeah. So that was a very stressful thing to do, but I cut, and thankfully it was only 4 12 by 16s that are actually 11 by 14. So cut those, took them down, he took them down. That's the bulk of them. I'm going to take down the rest of the stuff. What else did I do? After that, I sent over the captions for the photos. So she's going to print them out for me and have them ready for tomorrow. It's tomorrow. And I was scrambling, getting some other stuff done, went up and met up with a friend to go teach him how to use his film camera, and then I picked up some international money. I did something else. Oh, the film photos came in. I dropped off the film and we paid Rush for them, so they got back, and so I've been editing them since I've come back to China. I literally just finished, sent them off, uploaded, and now I've got to pack what I need for the show. So I'm gonna put everything in one little bag, take Veronica with me, my little cart, and then I still have to go drop by a friend's birthday and literally just go in to say hello. Happy birthday. I haven't seen you in like 5 years. Let's catch up. Goodbye. I really want to cancel, not because I don't want to go. I do. I adore you. It's just, it's chaos right now. I still would like to publish the blog post before it technically turns to February 1st. So I'm going to write the intro of the post on the train, and then, cause then I just have to do a couple more edits on that post. I have to do something else. This is also like me trying to, if I say things out loud, I remember it. Get things, yeah, the show. Oh, a residency. There's a residency application due tomorrow. I hope it's not like February. no, it said February 1st. I hope it's like February. I gotta go check that. There was 2 due that I wanted to do before vacation. One of them is like, it was gonna be one of those like audacious ones, because it was gonna be a big audacity one, but I just don't have the time. I just didn't manage my time well. Yesterday, what ended up happening yesterday, I was gonna finish all of this stuff yesterday, and then I had to go to a doctor's appointment, and doctor's appointments always take longer than you think they will. That shit took like almost 4 hours, so that was like all the day gone. That's why I'm scrambling today. It wasn't supposed to be like this, so it wasn't my fault. Although I am here sitting talking when I could be doing the things that I need to do. But I need to just do a couple more things for the show, figure out what I'm wearing to it, get that ready, and get that blog post done, get the residency done, and then go to sleep ideally at a good time and not stay up. Get my hair like in a braid so it looks decent tomorrow. Yeah. So right now it's like sprint mode. I am so behind on posting like photos and stuff and making certain videos for like photo related things. And I wanted to get those done as well before the trip, but we're scrapping it. There's no need to rush. I'm not going off the face of the earth for like 2 months. It's literally just a few days. I just wanted it off my mind, you know. But you know, you can't always get what you want. But feeling very grateful. The photos look great from yesterday. It's always nice validation. I'm like, oh, I'm good at what I do actually. And this vacation's gonna be really nice. It's kind of nice to have a lot of busy things, because then when you get to vacation, you just let loose and let go. And I need that, because when I come back, February is gonna be a sprint. It's already going to be a lot. So if you're watching this, I'm probably not gonna be available socially. So yeah, breathe. You know, and what I like to do whenever I'm in stressful periods or anxious, or like I'm about to go talk on a stage or something, is I like to think of, I know in a couple of hours I'm going to be at home reflecting on the night, looking back at the photos of the videos, laying in bed, head on my pillow. I don't want to be looking back regretting anything, right? So that helps me like be present. It's what I use. I've used this technique since I think the first time I actively thought about using it was TEDx. When I was 16, I did a TEDx talk in high school, and that's what I told myself. Like I was memorizing that script. It was a 10-minute talk. I memorized that thing. My mom probably knew it at that point by the time I was up on stage. And I told myself, look, you do not want to be at home later that night regretting messing up, or because you were so nervous or scared or something, like you were like trembling or whatever. So that's been how I coach myself. So I've coached myself for the past 11 years. So I've now kind of applied it to other things in my life, like whenever I'm sick or whenever, oh yeah, also had a bout this morning where I thought I was sick. So I was like, I downed like cough drops and like a Dayquil and some tea. I was like, nah, we ain't about to get sick before the freaking thing. I feel good now. I hope, let me just get on that plane. Where was I going? Oh yeah, so even if I'm like, it's transferred now to just beyond anxiety, and just like whenever I have busy times or whenever I'm sick or whenever like I'm going through a hard run, I'm like, it's gonna pass. Like it's gonna pass. It will pass. You're going to be at the end of it, taking a breath, drinking some water, like going to bed, taking a nap, looking at the photos, like whatever it is. So just like that kind of like forces me to be present, you know? And none of this is life or death stuff. None of it is like, it's just like time mismanagement, and we learn from it, right? So that's been, I guess, a little recap for both days. I don't know, today's Saturday. So tomorrow I'll check in after the show and kind of talk about that, and then I'm gonna have to hurriedly come back and then pack and do all the things I need to do before I leave for the trip, because the flight is on Monday, so inshallah. So that's my day. It's a lovely weekend so far. Just a little stressed, anxious, and like overwhelmed, but such is life. Alrighty. I'll check in with you tomorrow, alright? You're doing great, sweetie. Alright. It is 3 a.m. I have to catch a flight in the flight isn't for a minute, but I'm gonna leave in like 5 hours, so TBD if I'm gonna go to sleep, because I still got stuff to do, but I finished like all my like maintenance stuff. Just dried my hair. But I have to edit this week's video and close out some stuff from January. Debating over whether I want to do that or just wait till I come back because I'm not taking my laptop. I'm so excited. But vacation is on the brink. But today was a lovely, lovely day. It was the photo show. It was such a great experience. I got there around 9:30, and Cecilia's and Brandon's place is incredible. And Priscilla, I got to meet Priscilla as the dancer. So essentially my friend who we met in high school. She was a year below me, I believe, a year or 2 years, I believe just 1 year. And she, I was managing editor of our newspaper, and she was a writer, incredible writer, Cecilia, and is a dancer now. And we stayed in touch kind of loosely, but then when I moved to New York, I think we reconnected. And she had this wonderful idea of doing a salon at her space to encourage more interdisciplinary mediums and like creatives connecting, specifically the dancer world, bridging the gap between the dancing world and like the rest of the artist medium. And according to her, in her words, like dancers tend to be more at the bottom of the totem pole in terms of like contemporary dance, because it's just like a newer art form, so it's like not as well recognized yet. So it was such a lovely idea, and she wants to invite an artist at some level of frequency to take over the space and show their work. And then there's a dance component that Cecilia will choreograph and have one of her dancers that's in her company perform. So I'm the first artist. We were kind of giving it a go, and I presented Roots, which is the same show that I showed in London. A couple of photos swapped out, but same project, and just did it much better. I did it much better this time around. There were captions this time. There was context. I got to speak about it. And what I loved is on the one half of the room was the gallery, the photos. The other half was my favorite because on the table I had some of the books that I've checked out from the library about African studio portraiture. I brought those. I had a photo book, an Ethiopian photo book. Cecilia also had an artist book, and we laid them all out, and there was an African cookbook, and we laid them all out on the tables and invited people to read through them. And then on the TV, I had a collection of YouTube videos, just like random Eritrean Ethiopian YouTube videos, dancing videos, like weddings, music videos, DJ sets, and that was meant to evoke an experience, and if you are part of the diaspora, nostalgia of the experience of going to a diaspora home. And YouTube is always on, and they're always watching some random person's wedding, and it just to me speaks to like the yearning for home and the nostalgia for home, which you hear so deeply in the music too. There's something like really yearning and soulful in Ethiopian music and Eritrean music, like the jazz, like something about it. And yeah, so you got this like interactive experience in the second half of the room. You could sit down, there were couches, there were snacks. I also had a little table set up for sale, and I sold some bookmarks and some 4x6 prints. And it was really cool to see. I was testing out the bookmarks, gauging like what people were gravitating towards and if they were, okay with the price. And it was a lovely experience. So essentially it was from 12 to 5. So Cecilia had it in the invite so that there would be 2 performances and 2 artist talks. So around like, I would say 2 p.m., maybe 1, 2, Priscilla did the dance, and then Cecilia explained it, and she did the dance. Oh, I forgot to explain this part. The dance choreography, maybe I already did. The dance choreography is inspired by the artist's work, which I think is an amazing, awesome, cool thing to do. So Mulatu is included in my photo. I took a photo of him in concert at Sony Hall in New York and talked to her about the music. Was like, yeah, you probably heard his music. She listened to it. She's like, oh my gosh, I know it. So she choreographed the dance for Priscilla to dance to 3 of Mulatu's songs. And it was so fun seeing it, and like it just perfectly fit. It was like silly and funny, and it perfectly fit the vibe and funkiness of the soundtracks that she played. then afterwards I gave a little talk about the work, and it's super cool to then see people get even more invested because they're like, wow, I have even more context. Like, I kind of explained the experience of being in Rome and like what my thought process was when I began the project, how it's evolved, and I talked about how it's kind of ending the era that it's been the past 8 years. Like, I'm shifting it to a different focus. And so this felt like a really good closing out that chapter of the past 8 years of Roots. And I'm kind of shifting it into a different space, and I'm excited to see how it's a project I want to continue to work on for the rest of my life. So I'm excited to see how it shifts and what that shift is. And so I definitely want to take the time to like write about that because I want to document what I'm thinking and why I'm thinking that this is one era and we're shifting to another one. And it was so fun. And then I talked to them about the process of like painting the frames and the sourcing of the prints. They shout out Chris at Positive Print Lab, did an amazing job with all the prints, 107 prints, incredible work. And it was just such a great experience. Like, such amazing mingling. Half the guests were my friends, half the guests were Cecilia's friends. And I think that was just awesome to have people mingle and meet people. And towards the end, there were a lot of conversations about collaborations potentially. So that's what we want out of it. So Cecilia, that was just such a lovely idea. And I love like supporting friends. And like, I was like, I could just hang photos up and call it a day, but I just kind of went fully for it, and I'm so glad I did. Like, brought the books, like lugged them 1 hour all the way to Brooklyn. I made a playlist as well, so when you're in the gallery space you were listening to different tunes, mainly jazz, but some random, just like some of my favorite songs. And it was just a fully immersive experience. And the only thing missing was coffee, like fresh coffee. But yeah, it was so lovely, and I was wiped after it. We took down the stuff. I gifted Cecilia a frame for their home, for her and Brandon, and then also to a print for Priscilla. But so many people supported. I think I made about 100 something bucks, which, is 1/9 of how much I spent on the prints, but they're gonna make it back. And I have some ideas on how I want to. There was a lot of intention in why I went all out. I wanted to just make a big investment at the beginning of this year and like use the stuff throughout the year. So next steps is I want to have the photos that I used for the show hung up around the city, in different venues and spaces. And then the prints and the bookmarks that are left over, I'm going to sell, and like once the weather gets nice, maybe I'll offer them like limited edition runs on Instagram. They are limited edition. And then when it gets warmer, Yazin inspired me. He said he goes out to the parks and sets up a table and sells stuff and sells them really well. So that was the idea. So, I'll get investment back in different ways, or return back in different ways. But all in all, it was an incredible day. I was exhausted, had some dinner, and came back this way, and it's just been non-stop. Like, I think I didn't get back here at like 10. Just preparing, packing for the trip. I'm not gonna say where I'm going, because I don't want people to know where I'm gonna be when this comes out. But and I'm TBD on if I'm gonna record while I'm there, like my day-to-day. I think I will, because like being an artist is like 24/7, so I kind of want to see where my head's at while I'm there. Yeah, you know what, I'm gonna document. I wasn't going to, but I think I will. We'll see. I still have to put this together. I still have to finish out a blog post I was writing. Just need to write the intro, set my emails to automatic replies, and I'm just like trying to think of what's worth it. This is definitely I have to finish. I think the other stuff I could just do in transit or on vacation. Just take a day. But yeah, all in all, really great week. I'm proud of Yana. We worked really hard for this. We made it. So I'm super excited to see what comes next this year.